What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Talk to Me here on notfest.com. As always, I am Joshua Toomey, joined by the one, the only, the winning Chris Aiken. Chris, how we doing?
We are winning. We're happy.
Your Cleveland Browns won last night on national TV.
They look like Super Bowl champions for a minute. It was fantastic.
Too funny, man. Yeah, I called you last night, and I was doing some editing of my Daryl from Snapcase episode, and I wasn't even keeping up with the game, and then I turned it on, and it was 25-0, and I assumed it was 25-0 Cincinnati, and I was like, oh no, Chris is going to be bummed, and then I looked again, and I was like, oh no, Chris is going to be happy.
I was very happy. I was yelling and screaming in absolute joy watching that game. It was fantastic.
I think that might be the happiest I've ever heard you on the phone.
Dude, I was thrilled, man, because I went into that game so negative. I just was like, they're gonna get fucking murdered,
right?
And I was literally trying, like, you know how when it's your team on the national game, like, I don't know if you watch all the pre-games and stuff. I don't on purpose.
I typically don't.
I don't, but when it's your team and it's national, then it's like, all right, I'm going to watch all this. So even with it being a national game, I didn't watch it. I was like, I don't want to hear these guys shitting on my team, and I don't want to hear them dancing around Deshaun Watson getting rubbing tugs. You know, I don't want to hear any of this stuff. I just want to see the football game. So I'm watching That 70s Show or something right up until kickoff time. And I went into it just like completely like, okay, I'm in a good mood from laughing at this show. Maybe this will carry through. And then they just started kicking ass. I was like, oh, yes, this is, I mean, and it wasn't immediate either. You know, the game, first quarter, I believe, was 0-0. So it just kind of, they were both moving the ball a little bit, but nobody was like getting it done. But then the Browns started getting it done. I was like, fuck yeah.
And for everyone out there, yes, Mike, this is a sports show now. So
yeah, it is. Talking sports with Toomey. That's what it's being renamed.
Yeah, the Titans of Sunday Night Football this week against the Chiefs. So we know how well that's going to go.
They're going to win.
I know. I think we've won 5 out of 6 against them lately. So.
Look, it's Malik Willis's time. Never mind.
We don't want to talk about that just yet.
He had a good, 40, 50 yards passing?
That's all. Hey, a win's a win, right?
Yeah, I agree. Agree fully.
We do have a guest popping on in about 30 minutes. Worth Weaver of All the Pretty Things is going to pop on to talk about his new band. All the Pretty Things is going to be a nice little chat. But I had one of my interviews I've probably wanted since day one. Like, I've kind of done this the last few weeks, you know, with Skid Row, with Craig Owens, like a lot of like just bucket list guests have kind of been coming through lately. And Snapcase is one of my favorite bands of all time growing up and everything else. And they're putting out the 25th anniversary of Progression Through and Learning, which is my favorite album by them. And when the interview came through, I was ecstatic. I listened back to it because as I recorded it, I was like, man, because I got like 35 minutes with him, and that's you can cover a lot in 30 and 35 minutes.
Sure.
So I kind of went away like, I don't know if I got everything I wanted out of that. And then when I was doing the edit, I was like, yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with this, man. I'm cool. Pretty happy.
That's awesome, dude. It's always good when you get here. I mean, we'll pull the curtain back for everybody that does not do interviews.
Yeah.
I would say a good 70% of the time when you really want to interview somebody, it's a letdown.
Right.
It's very rarely do you get the guy that you want to interview and it's like amazing, and they have all these cool stories or whatever that, they'll answer, dude, I'll tell you the biggest fail I think I ever did. It wasn't a bad interview at all. It's actually on YouTube, I believe. It's me and Vinnie Paul. First time I ever interviewed Vinnie Paul, which is back in the 90s at some point. And I was so fucking pumped up to interview Vinnie Paul. And I get the call and Vinny, and it's Vinny on the phone, and I'm plugging on my little plunger onto the phone because that was what we were having at the day. And this guy could not have been more sterile and more business the first time I heard, because he was doing, he's doing the phone junket every half hour all day long. And, so everything I asked him, I was asking him like fan questions. He's like, well, it's part of the model of Pantera. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, here we go.
Right.
I asked him about releasing the pre-Cowboys albums. He's like, there's a lot of business that goes into that. And right now we're not at the point that we want to address that issue, but we may, the whole,
right.
We're not, but we might. And don't want to say anything controversial. Like, no, we hate that shit and we're never putting it out. It was just such a corporate interview. And I was like, oh, that just sucked. I just remember coming out of it. And I was like, that just sucked. And then every single person that heard it was like, that was so great, dude.
Right.
And I was like, no, it really wasn't.
No, it was not.
It wasn't.
Yeah. That getting him and doing the interview and listening back to it. It's like, I think I'm pretty much done. I think pretty soon I can just hang it up and be fine with it.
And we're out. See you guys.
And peace out.
That's it. We're done here.
Nice. Well, you want to dive into some news?
Sure. There's so much to dive into.
Well, as it would happen, as soon as we posted last week's episode, Mick Mars officially retired from touring with Motley Crue. So I'm assuming that means he'll continue to maybe write if they do a new album, and I'm assuming the business side of Motley Crue he'll be involved in, but I guess not doing the touring side.
Yeah, I have to wonder if he's still going to write or if he's just going to, he's in it as far as I'm going to cash some checks.
Yeah. Well, I know he was doing his own solo album. So, I mean, I guess he still likes to write and record. So hopefully if they do plan on doing a new album, maybe maybe John 5 and Mick Mars will trade off or something.
It'll be that Glenn Tipton thing where allegedly he's on the record.
Yeah, right. And it sounds nothing like he's ever recorded.
Yeah.
Ever.
Sounds an awful lot like Andy Sneap somehow. How did that happen?
Well, Motley Crue has officially recruited John 5 as its new guitarist following Mick Mars' decision to no longer tour with the band. One of the worst kept secrets in the music industry.
Yeah, I'd say. Jeez.
Let's see. The statement was earlier today. Motley Crue releases the following statement. While change is never easy, we accept Mick's decision to retire from the band due to the challenges with his health. We have watched Mick manage his ankylosing spondylitis.
His problem. Just say his problem.
For decades, and he has always managed it with the utmost courage and grace. To say enough is enough is the ultimate act of courage. Mick sounded...
Is it really?
It is the ultimate act, Chris.
Oh. Yeah, I'm going to retire and still get checks while you guys go work.
Go make me some money, monkeys.
Yeah, how brave am I to sit home while you monkeys make my fucking paycheck?
Yeah, Monkey Crew.
Stop it.
Mick's sound helped define Motley Crue from the minute he plugged in his guitar at our very first rehearsal together.
Ooh.
The rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah.
We'll
John
continue.
John 5 sound made it work for the stadium tour. That's what I've heard.
We'll continue to honor his musical legacy.
Great.
We will carry out Mick's wish and continue to tour the world as planned in 2023.
Do you think that was Mick's wish? I think Mick was like, you know what? I really hope you guys will keep touring.
He gets 1/5 of the check now, not 1/4.
Oh no, John 5's getting probably $2,000 a week or something. He's not getting a quarter share.
True. No doubt it will take an absolute outstanding musician to fill Mick's shoes. So we are grateful that our friend John 5 has agreed to come on board, moving us forward. We'll see you all crew heads out on the road.
It's a good move. As much as I'm busting balls, it is a good move. I mean,
it's a great move.
It's going to definitely give them at least 5 more years that they can do it. John 5 is as good as anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't want to shit on him per se, because he's immensely talented. Oh, yeah. And it's a good move from those guys. They can, their normally shitty show will be infinitely better with a better guitar player. So that's good.
Well, I don't know if Mick's part of the show was really that bad. But
no, but it'll certainly be better. John 5's a mover. John 5 moves around. Mick Mars looked like he needed the Ozzy brace to hold him in place.
Yeah. John 5 of Man of Many Words statement is, I'm honored to carry on Mick's legacy and am looking forward to playing these songs.
Wow. Take it easy, John.
Slow it down, John. But yeah, I mean, John 5, I mean, I've ranted and raved about John 5 over the years, and even as an outside the box candidate for a Pantera reunion, like throw him in that Dimebag slot. That would be amazing. So I think the John 5 obviously will have no issue playing these songs.
No. And he's been it. Didn't he? And my brain is not working real good today, but didn't he do David Lee Roth? Right?
Yeah.
So he's played in that environment before already. That 80s, big arena sounding environment. Because obviously the Rob Zombie stuff is different, but he can certainly play with that kind of flair.
Yeah.
So he'll be fine. I think now if they could just get a singer, they'd be great.
If they could just, John Corabi come back, I think this would be an amazing tour.
Dude, just do the Arnel Pineda. Find there's 9,000 Motley Crue tributes in every town, everywhere. Grab one of them, get the guy from Too Fast for Love, prop him up there and play those songs. It would be better than what they're going to give you. But even that being said, Motley I'll give Motley credit where credit's due. They put their money into the show so you don't notice how bad Vince is. Yeah. And now with John 5, it's going to sound even better because the guitars are going to be pristine, from start to finish.
Yeah, you brought up a cover band thing in there. And one thing I've been noticing a lot lately on cover band flyers is they don't even try anymore to, make a Pantera tribute band, but make it slaughtered in the Pantera font. It just says Pantera as performed by Slaughtered. It's like, these shows now are just like, they don't even try to hide the fact that they're a cover band.
Dude, and I don't know how some of them get away with it. There's literally a band out there. I see their tickets go on sale about twice a year here called Led Zeppelin 2.
Oh, yeah.
How do they get away with that? I mean, it's not spelled different or nothing. Right. It's Led Zeppelin 2.
Right.
It's like, Jesus, tell me that's not misleading.
I think I'm going to start a Pantera tribute band with like 2 R's, just Pantera.
Well, dude, there's a Motley tribute that plays here every once in a while called Motley 2, spelled T-U-E with the umlauts and all that other bullshit.
Nice.
When you see it on a flyer, if you're not really paying attention, like Motley Crue's playing at the Grog Shop, what?
Oh man, but yeah, I don't. For some reason, I feel like this will make me want to see this Motley Crue tour more, having John 5 in the band. But I don't know. It's still a little rough.
It's still Vince Neil singing.
Yeah,
and I don't care if they replace. I don't care if they get Billy Sheehan on bass, and they get the ghost of Neil Peart on drums. It's still Vince Neil singing, which means it's still going to be 5 out of 10 at absolute best. He sucks. He's terrible.
Did you see this story about James Hetfield dressing up as Stranger Things Eddie Munson for Halloween?
I didn't see a story, but I saw the photo. I was like, look at Hetfield. 60 years old, going on 12.
Well, I think this is like this. There's so many, ways you can look at this. Mm-hmm. Like he's obviously getting a divorce, so he's like out to have some fun. I don't know I don't know if this is him taking the kids trick or treating around the neighborhood, or he went to like some 20-year-old's Christmas Halloween party, trying to check out some chicks or whatnot. But this screams like divorced dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, who was at the party? Tom Brady.
Him, Tom Brady, and I saw somewhere there was actual betting site that had speaking of sports, Mike, the betting odds for Tom Brady's next girlfriend, the
age,
the person, the lowest odds person was Taylor Swift.
Oh wow.
But so that would be fun. She'll write a whole record about the.
Well, yeah, and she just put one out now, so she's good for a relationship to write a whole record of just shitting on the next guy with. Perfect.
Dude, she posted. This is totally off the. Welcome to Knotfest. This is totally off the record, off the wall. But I was looking today, and her her concert dates got posted, her tour
Mhm.
dates.
Yeah.
She's doing 2 nights at SoFi, like 2 nights at just every like a Levi Stadium, 2 nights here, like the stadium tour. Like
Yeah.
she's doing 2 nights. And she doesn't have like these massive opening bands. I mean, there are people you may or may not have heard of, but it's just bananas like how big she is. I honestly didn't realize she was like
Oh, yeah.
2 nights at SoFi Stadium big.
She's huge, dude. She is definitely probably the biggest mainstream pop star right now. Either her or, I mean, who would it be? Her, Beyonce, maybe?
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it's definitely her, I guess, but it's still crazy.
I mean, it's anytime you've got the NFL, take it back to sports for Mike. Anytime you've got the NFL cutting a 4 or 5 minute promo for somebody's album being released, that's when you know you're in the big time. And what's her album called? Midnights or something
like that.
And the NFL did like a 5 minute promo of her saying, "Hey, I want to thank everybody that's watching for listening to my," and I was like, nobody watching is listening to your album.
Right.
But dude, it's the weirdest thing now with music, and I know we're running way off the rails, but
right.
I watched the other night this Amazon Music, which I don't know if you're even familiar with that, but they do a after the football games on the Amazon Prime,
right,
on Thursday nights, they now do a music show called Amazon Music Live. And I watched it, and it was some guy that I'd never heard rap before called Lil Baby. Obviously a hot rapper right now, which that all by itself, I looked him up on Spotify, and one of his songs has 1 billion streams. I'm like, how have I never heard of this guy?
Yeah,
He's got
there's Lil Baby and Da Baby. So
and Da Baby. Da Baby's the one that gets arrested all the time, right?
Right, yeah.
And Lil Baby's like the hottest rapper in the world right now, I guess. I guess he has the #1 album in the country with Taylor Swift. But I watched this show, and not necessarily watching the show because the music was absolutely wretched bad, but the amount of money that Amazon was spending on the production made me absolutely thrilled. Because even if it's not music we like, just that somebody, I mean, this was a $5 million set that he was playing on, with dancers and big giant screen behind him, like fresh out of the WWE, and a big, like a mountain rock that he was climbing up while he was singing and shit. It was a massive, massive stage. And I just was like, man, for the first time in 20 plus years, somebody with money is putting money into music.
Right.
I was like, man, that is a good thing, because eventually people are going to get tired of these mumble rappers, and they're going to go back to rock and roll on these same big stages again. And man, it's good that we're finally going to have a place anyway that people can do this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything set in stone, but I've got some friends that are working with Amazon on some music projects. So some and even it's heavier stuff too. So
That's
the
good.
Amazon's definitely dipping their toes in. Well, I mean, pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Not that it's crazy and not that it's breaking news, but it's just for the fact that you can like pick up your phone and order something and it's at your house the next day.
Yeah.
It's just like, and it's always, I never order anything like that I can't just go to the store and get. It's always something stupid.
Right. Dude, I live like 3 miles from an Amazon outpost or whatever, big facility.
Right.
I can order at like 10 o'clock in the morning and it's at my house by like 2. There's no reason to ever leave anymore because they just bring everything, immediately. It's fantastic.
To the house.
Yep.
Finishing up on James Hetfield here, because I think Worth will be joining us momentarily. But are they poking this too much? I know they did like a whole Stranger Things line of clothing. They just continue to post the stuff. They had the guy come up and play with them on stage or act like he was playing on stage or whatever, and jammed with them backstage. I mean, they're milking this Stranger Things.
Well, they are. It made them a bunch of money during the pandemic.
Yeah.
When they couldn't make any money, they made money. So for that, you know what? I'm going to give you my straight up answers. Yes and no. Are they poking it too much? Yes. Is it forgiven because it's Halloween? I think also yes. It's the same with Myles Garrett was dressed as Vecna yesterday, coming into the game and was doing the Michael Jackson Thriller dancing when he was sacking Joe Burrow last night. Again, Mike, football. But I think you get a pass on Halloween.
Right.
Now, if he does it next week, like if next week he shows up as a gig dress like that or something, okay, then it's over the line. But yeah, whatever, dude. At this point with Metallica, do whatever you want. Go for it.
All right, one quick thing, and then we'll dive in most likely with Worth. Lamb of God to be joined by Mastodon, Hatebreed, Guar, Shadows Fall, and God Forbid on the first ever Headbangers Boat.
Oh, wow.
Lamb of God's Headbangers Boat will feature live music from sunup to sundown across several stages and settings throughout the ship, including 2 unique shows from Lamb of God, featuring a complete performance of their 2004 landmark third album, Ashes of the Wake, in its entirety. And the 5-time Grammy-nominated band will further honor heavy metal's past, present, and future by curating a special selection of special guests, including hard rock icons Mastodon, Hatebreed, Guar, Shadows Fall, God Forbid, Fit for an Autopsy, and Lamb of God's Mark Borton solo band. Special guest hosts on the thing are Jose Mangan, Ricky Rackman, and Jamie Josta. The Josta Show will do a live podcast.
Wow. That sounds pretty fun, actually.
Yeah, I know. I saw this lineup. I was like, well, I could, why is there not a live Talk to Me at this thing? But
yeah. Well, there probably could be for a mere $8,000 in a cabin, right?
Right? Yeah, we could do all the live podcasts that we want from this boat.
Exactly.
You've done a cruise, but not like a music cruise, right?
I haven't done the music cruise. No, I've just done regular cruises. Yeah.
Your counterpart just did the Kiss cruise. Have you heard anything from him?
I did. He was himself, less than enthused, of course. He was like, that's not my thing, but
right.
But he said it was fun. He said he met a lot. He told me he met some cool people. He met I guess he was like hanging around drinking with Tom Zutaut, which that's pretty cool. From
right.
Obviously signed a little band named, I don't know, Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses. Signed a couple of bands that you might have heard of before.
Right.
So he said that was pretty cool. He said it was a cool hang.
Nice. Well, speaking of a cool hang, Worth just jumped into the green room, so we'll bring him in.
All right.
What's going on, guys? You got me in
What's
there?
up? I do have you. What's up, Worth?
Not much, guys. Pleasure,
Worth,
pleasure being here.
Awesome, man. Yeah, Worth Weaver, man. What a great name.
I'm actually the fourth in my family, so it's kind of one of those family names that's been passed down for a bit.
Is there a like a story behind it, or is it just happened to just be passed down?
It just happens to be passed down. So, and my dad goes by RW, and my grandfather went by Junior, and then my great grandfather went by Royal, which was
nice,
which is my first name. So,
man,
where are you from? Are you Texas? That sounds like Texas to me. Are you guys Texas guys, or?
I'm actually down in North Carolina, right on the coast outside of Wilmington. So,
okay,
yeah, man.
Very good, man. Go ahead, Josh.
Well, let's talk about all the pretty things, man. Obviously the one track we've got out now is pretty amazing, man. So kind of talk about how the band came together and how you produced and kind of put all of this together on your end.
All right. Well, it starts back in around 2017. I was partnering up with another studio in town, and we were moving into a new building. And one of my partner at the time, he was friends with Tristan. And that's how I met Tristan. Tristan helped us with move-in day. And Tristan and I, we immediately had a great friendship right out of the gate. And we shared a lot of the same interest in music, a lot of the same taste. And we always kind of kicked around starting a project together, over many beers. But
that's how it always works.
Yeah, exactly. And so we kind of started throwing ideas back and forth around 2019. And then, COVID hit. In 2020, so that kind of put a little bit of a stop to us, but we picked back up momentum and really started to bring the ideas together, and we brought in our buddy Jeremy to do drums, and from that point in time we had everything laid out as far as the music was concerned, but we didn't have a vocalist. So then we just started shopping around to our friends locally. And Logan sent us this demo out of the blue, and that ultimately turned into not the first track that we're going to release, but our second track on our EP. And from that point on, we just started to collectively come together and write, and it's just kind of been a very organic and easy process so far. We really play well off of each other when it comes to our ideas. Our tastes are all very similar. But yeah, man, getting together, I have a studio here. So I pretty much recorded everything, and we got Bo Burchell to mix it. So it's been a really, really fun and entertaining process throughout.
Sure, man. Well, dude, for people that don't know, you are also, you are more of a production guy as well as a musician yourself, but you're like the good guy to have in a band, because you're the guy that can definitely make the demos sound super sweet, or just record it yourself and not have to pay somebody to deal with that.
Yeah.
That being said, when you were putting the band together, where does the importance lie in their ability to play live versus being able to be recorded? And do you consider that, or is the first consideration still always how do we get along when we're in the same room together?
Yeah, that's a great point, man. The studio is a different monster from playing live, for sure. I mean, you're under the microscope, obviously, in the studio. So, any deficiency you have as a player or a performer is going to, really rear its head. That being said, everyone involved in this project has been doing it for an extended amount of time. We've all got touring experience with multiple bands. We've all recorded multiple records and, throughout our careers. And it was a very natural process. And getting everyone in the studio, it felt good, whenever we jammed the songs live and then bringing it into the studio, it all translated really well.
Okay.
That being said, man, I mean, I've been producing for about 17 years, playing guitar and touring for about 25. So the experience element is on our side for sure. And I think we all kind of knew what we wanted going in. We wanted to make something that was slightly different than anything that we've been involved in previously. And we kind of wanted to be more of an aggressive thinking man's rock, if that makes any sense. We want to write good songs that have something to say, but we're not trying to overproduce the hell out of it. We're not trying to really come at it from this angle of being a studio band. We want to be able to pull it off live as well.
Coming from a bunch of different bands where you're kind of hired guns and doing other people's music, for lack of a better term,
yeah.
When you sit down to do your own band, is it just like a crazy outlet for you to finally get to do what you want to do, kind of thing, when you're kind of stuck playing like the album that you didn't record, stuff like that?
Yeah, man, that's actually a very good point. This is that strikes a chord with me personally, because I've always been the hired gun guy for the most part. I mean, I've been in bands. I was in a group with some guys from Charleston named Versus Angels, and that was a passion project of mine, in addition to the guys there. And that was something that, I poured myself into, but never to this extent. With this one, I really threw out all of those preconceived potential judgments, worrying about, is this song going to appeal to this audience or that audience, or, is my guitar playing going to be judged? Is my production going to be judged? Like, all of those fears kind of went to the wayside. And I think that coincided with my brother's death. He was supposed to play bass in this band, and he passed away in 2020. So I think after that happened, I kind of just recollected myself, and I'm approaching this project from this perspective. It's almost a brand new perspective for me creatively and personally. And I think I'm pouring myself into it, and I can say the same for everyone else. We're all playing what we want to play, and we all respect each other's opinions and angles on where we're going with the music. Logan's got something to say. He's very passionate. He's a very gifted lyricist as well, and the dude can sing his ass off. So it's
right.
It's just a great vibe all around. And now that we're all making music together, I think we're just getting more and more excited as we move forward.
Right. Well, Worth, I wanted to touch a little bit. You mentioned your brother passing away, and that's obviously beyond horrible. There's no nice way to put it. It's a terrible, terrible thing. I'm curious for you, how do you go into forming a band that he was obviously a big part of with you and have passion toward it? And I know this sounds like a shitty question, but I mean, it's got to be, in my head, I can't imagine doing that. I'd imagine every time I listened to it, heard a note, saw the name, anything, it would put me in a bad place, not a positive place.
Right.
How do you balance that and move forward in a positive direction after having such a tragic thing as a big part of the development of this band?
That's a great question as well. I've chosen to celebrate his legacy, and he would want me, as well as all the other guys, to move forward, just because, it's something that I knew he was passionate about and that he loved and cared about. And, moving forward with the project would be something that I think he ultimately would approve of and would have wanted us to do. That being said, I have his bass guitar hanging in my hallway in my home. I've got a picture of him right here on my recording console. I celebrate my brother, and it gives me strength and courage to move forward with music, and it makes me once again more excited to promote and get those negative feelings into the music and out into the world where it belongs to other people. Because once it leaves here, it belongs to the audience, and I think that's something that's always been really special for me when it comes to music. It's always been a personal connection, and I always have strived to connect and feel something in my core whenever I'm listening to a record, a song. And ultimately, I think I want to move people with my brother's legacy through the music.
Is it tough for you to sit there with a track and knowing he played bass on it, and as you're mixing it or just getting it together and you hear him playing, like, do you know it's him playing and you hear him playing, and it obviously if you're there alone, things like that, I mean, it's got to be tough on you, right?
Yeah, it does weigh heavy sometimes, but I once again have tried to approach it from the most positive perspective as possible. That being said, I am self-professed OCD. I mean, I tend to have those cyclical thought processes, but focusing on the good and celebrating my brother is what I've chosen to do with this project. And that goes for about every other area of my life. My brother was a gifted musician who had toured with successful bands as well before this band, and he was also a doctor. So he was very talented, and he was also very intelligent and just a great person. Never met a stranger. And I think that everyone hearing the music and hearing him will smile as opposed to think about negativity.
Sure. Well, Worth, moving. I'm going to move this to a nicer place. You've obviously worked with, in some respect, in some forms, with obviously this new band with All the Pretty Things, as well as 1,000 Foot Krutch. He is Legend. You've worked with quite a few notable bands, but they're not the same sounding bands. They're different sonically.
Right.
For you, especially as a engineer, as somebody that records music, how do you approach each, as far as the music goes, to keep them different, or do you not? Do you just naturally, does your skill, your talent blend itself to the other guys instead of all of it sounding like you?
Well, it's tough to take yourself out of the music, because whenever I play, a line on the guitar, if you were to play the same line, it's going to sound like you versus it sounding like me. So, I mean, I'm always putting myself into everything that I touch or everything that I do. That being said, I always try to serve the song, and, especially as a hired gun, I try to serve the band. I've always been, I've always been the guy to, be the first one to help load in, be the first one to be at the merch table to sell shirts. I always believe in supporting those that support me. And I think with that mentality, that's ultimately hopefully what has consistently gotten me employment, as a musician, as a recording studio engineer, as a producer. I try to serve the song, circling back to emotionally connect with the listener, audience, and the band. And once you see that effort, being a good hang, being a good dude, ultimately is the biggest component, I think, of being a hired gun or even just a member of a band.
Right.
You know, because I don't care if you're the best guitar player in the world. If you're a shitty hang, or if you have an ego that's, you know, outrageous, then I can't work with you. I can't record you because, you know, if I say, hey, that was a good line, but you know, can we change this? If I get pushback from an egotistical perspective, it traditionally is a big turnoff. And ultimately, the energy from the project performance suffers. And so I really strive to keep energy, pacing, positivity, just moving forward, you know? And I think that ultimately has transitioned into my career as I've moved forward in my life.
You've kind of touched on a little bit, man, but vocally, Logan's voice is right up my alley. Like I love his voice, man. What a great voice, and what a great find for you guys to kind of get with that. So kind of talk about, you know, working with Logan and, you know, through the recording process and writing with him and things like that.
Right. Well, like I told you guys before, I traditionally write the music, you know, with the rest of the guys. So we present a blank slate for Logan, and Logan has mentioned to me that he has notebooks. I mean, stacks of notebooks filled with you know, poetry and lyrics that he's just compiled over, you know, his years as an artist. And Logan listens to, like we all do, just a wide variety of different music. You know, we're not all, you know, cemented in the pop world or the metal world. We're all, you know, we have such an eclectic spanning catalog from what we just consistently listen to. And I think that Logan's approach is exactly what the music needed, because I can let Logan just go and, you know, really don't have to give much direction as a producer or an engineer. Now, that being said, I want to make sure we get the best take possible, that, you know, and we write harmonies together sometimes, but typically Logan's approach is dead on, and that is so rare to find in a vocalist. You know, I've worked with hundreds of vocalists throughout, you know, my career as an artist and as a producer, and it's a very rare find. So we are really fortunate, and I've known Logan for quite a bit of my life. He and his family are fantastic and all very musically gifted. That being said, Logan and I had jammed before, and we had been in bands locally, you know, even in high school, and we had known each other. So I knew he was talented, but I never knew the depths of what he had to offer until this project.
Right on. Now, let's fast forward a year from now. We talk to you again a year from now. All the Pretty Things is doing well. It's picking up speed, but it's not all the way there yet, you know, right. But it's there. And here comes He Is Legend with another tour and another record that they want to do and whatnot. Where's the balance for you of I can do this or I can't do that, or I don't want to do this because my main band, All the Pretty Things, is you know, jumping off. Is there a place where you would have to make that tough decision?
You know, I think I've already made that decision. Typically throughout my career, I have always had multiple fires, you know, multiple bands going on. Like I have 4 set lists in my head going on right now. Like currently I also play with a local blues musician who is incredible at the guitar, and he's an incredible singer as well. His name is Justin Cody Fox. And while it is, you know, it keeps my chops up doing that, whenever All the Pretty Things hits that moment, and I think we'll all know when that time is, I intend to be laser focused on it. And that is, I think, about the only way that you can really take a project from the infantile stages to where you're being successful, at least on the scale that we want to be successful at.
Right. Where is that moment? Is there a specific peak that you look for? Is there X amount of radio play, or we just got added to this festival, or where do you see that moment as?
I think it might have a bit to do with everything, you know, radio play, festivals. Obviously the financial component is huge. So it really just has to do with how does everything feel? How is the vibe with everything? That being said, I never want to abandon a project or leave someone high and dry. That's never my intention. But I think for this project, I intend to really be laser focused on it. And this is probably the biggest, what would I say? This is definitely, if I had to call it my baby, like this is certainly the one that I would be most excited about moving forward and what I would want to invest more of my time and energy in than anything else I've worked on.
It's funny you said that, Chris. As we were sitting here, I literally just got in my promo bin the new He Is Legend.
Oh, it's insane. It's so crazy. Jesse, their drummer, is one of my dear friends. He and I hang out on occasion, and he came over several weeks ago, and he let me, listen to the record, and it is just the most brutal, heavy, all-out craziness. And I'm so proud of those dudes. Love them to death. Can't say enough positive things about them.
Awesome. Well, Worth, man, as we wind it down, man, what's the next, the end of this year, all next year? What's all the pretty things, looking to do?
Well, we've already got all the drums, and all of the drums are done for the record. So I am in the midst of tracking my guitars, which is always a tedious and somewhat stressful process for me. I tend to go to a dark place sometimes with that because I get so obsessive with it. That being said, wrap up the record. And then, we're already talking to a few labels here and there. We're going to see what develops, but we intend to have some tours in mid to late 2023 based upon how the songs perform and, just what we have offered on the table. But we do intend to take this out to the public and see all the smiling faces at the show. So
right. Let me ask you one quick one that has nothing to do with your band, but it's a hot topic right now. And I think you're going to have an interesting perspective because of the fact that you are both an engineer as well as a live touring musician.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about tracks these days. Should you use them? Should you not use them? Is there a line, I guess, is the question. I know the old school people say, yeah, there's a line. If you dare play a minute of tape, you're violating the sanctity. And then there's the other side, the Nine Inch Nails up side, that is like, if you're not doing it, you're just failing your audience.
Right.
You obviously played both sides of that fence as a production guy and as a live performer.
Right.
So for you, where do you see that line between giving the audience a great show versus giving the audience a fully live show?
Man, that's a really tough question. And, it is very much genre specific, I think. I'm sure you guys have read about the bands that couldn't play because the laptop died.
Yeah.
That being said, whenever I personally go to see a show, I'm going for the experience. I want it to be entertained, Like, just imagine going to see a Marvel movie without all of the special effects, that are there. You know what I'm saying? Like, something along those lines. But ultimately, I don't mind if a band uses tracks as long as it's done tastefully and it's not to the point where you're basically just a puppet on a string. You know what I mean? I really think that tracks can enhance a performance and add to that experience. Which is, it's all about watching, a band that I admire perform a song or a record that I love and it being delivered to give me that same feeling and that same experience. And if that means using tracks, then I'm cool with it. But I still ultimately think that, we as a band, we do pride ourselves on our musicianship and our performance. We don't have, any desire to just have half of our show be pre-recorded. We want to be able to be as organic as possible. We want to be able to deliver that experience with respect to the tracks in the song if they're there, or the organic side of the performance as well.
My take was, as long as I'm playing bass and I'm playing live, I don't care what's going on around me. Now if I'm playing to a bass track, then that's my issue. But as long as I'm playing live, what's going on around me was whatever happens.
Sure.
Yeah. I once again, I don't mind it. I think that if it is adding to the experience, then it's totally acceptable. But once your show crosses that line of we can't play because the track's not working, at that point in time, I think you probably should reevaluate, where you're at, what you're trying to deliver, because it is about the experience, and I think ultimately I just want to deliver that to the audience so that, they come back next time.
Right.
Well, man, what's the best place for people to keep up with the band and follow everything on the old internet?
The usual socials. We've got our Instagram page, which is All the Pretty Things, Spotify, Facebook, iTunes. All of your major streaming services, your major social media outlets. We still have a website in the works, but it's not as of yet live. We're still working on that right now. But more to come, and we do plan on doing more things like this to keep everyone informed as things start to grow and continue to grow. And I'm sure we'll be doing more media, as things move forward.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you taking some time with us. And once again, guys, Worth Weaver from All the Pretty Things. Make sure to check them out. I thoroughly encourage it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, guys. You guys have a great night. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Take care.
Take care.
All right.
There we go.
And that was Worth Weaver.
Yeah, that was easy.
Yeah.
I like that.
What a name, man. Royal Worth Weaver.
Yeah, Royal Worth.
Why don't I'm Josh.
Yeah. I'm sure his grandmother was Nettie, like net worth.
Yeah, right. Oh, man, look at you. Nettie Worth Weaver.
Yep. As long as he didn't say, yeah, my cousin Randy, that's fine.
Randy Weaver. Well, that's what I say. Or my favorite Titan, man, Rashad Weaver.
There you go.
Sports Talk.
Maybe that was his, right, Mike?
Too funny. Well, man, let's wrap it up with some what we've been watching and listening to, man. What have you been watching, listening to? Anything good?
Watching. I don't know if I said this last week or not, but I finished it this week. So if I said it last week, I'm going to say it again this week. Okay. There's a show on Freevee. And I know that's going way, way deep into the bowels of freedom, of free stuff that most people won't go to anymore. But there's this killer show on Freevee called Sprung.
Okay.
It's here's the premise. The premise is it's these 3 criminals that are in prison, and they get let out of prison because of the pandemic. So they get let out of prison. One of them's been in prison for 27 years. One's been in prison for like 5 years or something. And then I don't know how long the girl's been in prison. But they come out and the world's all different because, especially the guy that's been in for 27 years, because not only has he never even seen a cell phone, but he doesn't know how to live. He doesn't, there was no internet when he went into prison. Everything's different. And also the pandemic, so he can't even go to the store and get toilet paper. And it's comedy. It's not a serious show at all. It's very, very funny, very kind of dirty humor. I like that. It's dirty. Right. They swear a lot, and it's just silly fun. So if you want something, and that's one everybody can get. You don't have to have a specific service to watch it. It's on Freevee, which is Amazon's free service. Check that out. It's called Sprung, and it is fantastic. And then as far as music, I interviewed one of the big 4 today, the big 4 of German thrash metal, of course. I interviewed Sodom about their new box set. 40 years of Sodom, the greatest hell in Sodom, or 40 years at war, the greatest hell of Sodom is the box set. It is fucking astoundingly good, and I'll explain why real quick. And this is probably just gonna work for old school metalheads. The Slipknot crowd ain't gonna love this album, but you old heads like me will love this. How, dude, when everybody does like re-recordings of whatever, they always just do their big hits. These guys they picked one song from every record in Sodom's history, dating all the way back to 1982.
Okay.
And they went out of their way not to do the hits. They went into all the deep tracks, like the deepest track on every album. So it is only for really hardcore Sodom fans, which I am definitely one of those. I love that band. And just hearing them do, re-recorded Jabba the Hutt as an example with the modern production, I was like, holy shit, is this heavy? Fantastic stuff. I'm actually a rare moment. I'm going to buy a physical product, but I'm going to buy this thing. Wow. Because it comes with a hardcover book, and each 2 pages as you look at the book are like alternate artwork that was supposed to be used or was submitted for use of the album, and then a bunch of fan letters that they've accumulated over 40 years about each album, and just notes and stuff from the history of the band. So I'm really, really big on this, and I could not have been more happy. I interviewed Tom Angel Ripper from the band today, and dude, that was like you interviewing Newstead for me. I was so excited to fucking interview him because I'm such a big fan. So the new Sodom box set is fantastic. So that and Sprung, that's been my week.
Nice. I will actually defer to my wife, and she posted it has her stamp of approval on it.
Okay.
But we've been watching this Cabinet of Curiosities on Netflix.
Okay.
Was it Benicio del Toro or one of those dudes? And it seems to be, it's episodic and everything's, each episode is to itself, but it's really well done, and everything I've seen from it looks amazing. So I need to actually sit down and watch it, but I'm either editing or interviewing or talking to you. I feel like I haven't had much time for myself to actually just watch anything. So
sure.
The Cabinets of Curiosities looks amazing, and the one episode I watched of it was awesome. It was about a guy stealing teeth. So which is always good. The only music, honestly, I've been listening to a ton of Snapcase. They actually have a book, like a 144-page book coming out called Optic, and it's just all old flyers and the history of the band. And I guess in the interview he talked about it, but the guy that put the book together went to Buffalo and sat down and went to each member's house and took all the good stuff and scanned it in and he said it took 4 or 5 days at a hotel just scanning stuff.
Wow.
So I definitely want to check out this book once it's out.
Very cool.
I think it's going to be pretty awesome to see. And then the 25th anniversary of the Progression Through Unlearning is coming out too. So that's going to be, I can't believe that. I mean, I know we always say I can't believe this is that old and this is that old, but Progression Through Unlearning came out, I guess, when I was 18.
Right.
And so it's 40, I'm 43 now, 25 years. That's crazy. That's how long it's been since that album came out.
Now, I have not heard your interview yet. Are they going to tour?
They're just doing, Snapcase hasn't really toured a lot lately. They're not, I don't think they're doing a full on tour.
Okay.
They have a sold out hometown show already.
Okay.
All that stuff going on. But as for full on tour, I don't think so. They've been kind of doing sporadic, they did some shows with Strife and Earth Crisis, and
nice,
which would be amazing to see too. But yeah, man, I definitely, I would love to see them tour, but they're kind of like Life of Agony, man. They just they'll go and do 5 shows in Europe and then come home, and then they'll do a Northeast run of shows, and they're not coming to the Midwest anytime soon.
And no Louisville show.
You got to go to Louisville. But yeah, so I think that's pretty much everything going on. Did you what interviews did you put out this week? I saw a couple.
Serena Telly I put out. She's the ex-singer of Burning Witches. And who else did I put out there? 96 Bitter Beings, former CKY singer Duran Miller.
Nice.
And he's also now in Malevolent Creation, which I don't know how that works. That happened after I interviewed him.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
But that's so such a strange, I was a big CKY fan. I loved that band. And when I saw he was in Malevolent Creation, I was like, huh? Right? I was like, how can that be? He doesn't seem the part, but he's doing that now, and so that's coming out this week, and then next week is and for those on the paying side, if you are a CMS VIP, by the time you get this one, my David Ellefson interview will be on the VIP this week, and then it'll come out 2 or 3 weeks later in the freebie. And then next week, my favorite of my favorites in the world of death metal, the mighty Maurizio Iacono from Cataclysm. Nice. He's back with Invictus, and then Leatherwolf the Friday after that. So
nice,
lots of good stuff coming.
Nice. I have been in contact with Morgan Lander about recording for next week. So hopefully get that out to talk about When We Were Young Fest and all that good stuff.
That would be great.
It will be great. Always a good time. Well, man, let's wrap this up, man. Let's give a huge thank you to Worth Weaver for taking some time, man. Yeah, he was interesting, man. Probably could have talked to him for a lot longer if we wanted to.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was definitely a cool dude. Make sure to check out all the pretty things. I dug the one tune that's out now, and yeah, it's gonna be fun to kind of see how they progress, man. Because I mean, they kind of do seem like one of those studio bands that everybody kind of sends their tracks in, and he rearranges them and makes them good and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it works out.
Tell me, it's not hard to do an interview with one song.
Right?
That's difficult because there's not much to really say. Well, what are you doing? We really don't know. Honestly, even after hearing one song, you really don't know what they're doing.
Right.
We know what one song sounds like, but the next one might be a blues funk song for all we know. We don't know.
You gotta bring back funk metal.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, man. Well, that will do it for another episode of Talk to Me. Make sure you're following us on the socials there at Talk to Me Talk on Twitter, at Talk to Me Talk on Facebook. You can always follow my personal page. It's probably the best place to follow me on Facebook is my personal page, because I do tend to post a bunch of stupid stuff over there. If you want a guitar pick, reach out. I've had a couple of people reach out from the podcast to get some guitar picks sent out to them. And yeah, so for the Talk to Me podcast here at knotfest.com, I am Joshua Toomey.
I am Chris Hagan.
And we will talk to you soon.
See ya.